what day is the service auction?
Service auction launch is going to be Saturday, November 5th at 6 p.m. at the Fellowship.
That sounds great. And what kind of offerings, if I were considering putting one in, should I think about?
I mean, just about anything you can come up with. People put in offerings of like artwork that they've created themselves. They put in offerings for events like gatherings and dinners, family events like a movie night or a game night. What else?
What about like a fresh baked apple pie? Could I offer that maybe?
Oh yeah, listen, absolutely. Homemade food goes crazy.
So it sounds like there's a lot of ideas for the service auction offerings. They could be game nights, family nights, dinners, gatherings in nature, in your house. They can be offered at the Fellowship. It could be a homemade baked good or dinner. Is there really any limit for what you can offer?
No.
So it sounds like if I have any questions about what I want to offer, I should maybe reach out to someone on the service auction committee, including myself or Donna Perch. Who else?
Toby Tyler, Gabor, Barbara Stasiak, Susie Harris, myself. That's kind of your main group.
Sounds good. I look forward to the service auction.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, where we covenant to weave together the fabric of community from the strands of our separate lives. We are an inclusive, welcoming congregation. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We adhere to the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism, which you can find on the newcomer cards on the back of the chairs or on the welcome table. Please feel free to take a card with you. This is a great time to silence any noise-making devices as we prepare for our morning worship. And now, in the spirit of hospitality, I invite you to greet someone you did not come with this morning.
Good morning. I'm Joel Miller. I'm the interim minister here at the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Woo! Welcome. Glad to see you. I love it that you like each other so much. You're just going to keep talking, even though I'm talking up here. And that's cool. It's a good thing. As you saw, the service auction is coming up, and in case I haven't mentioned it to you, I have a sermon topic that you can also bid on. So if you have a really kind of burning question philosophically or theologically, would love to have you bid on it. It comes with lunch or a dinner with you and some other folks if you'd like. And the only thing I can't guarantee is conclusions. Those aren't for sale. But so this morning we had a fire drill at 10:25. Things went pretty well. And it was a lot of fun seeing, we had two big fire trucks in the parking lot, and the kids were climbing all over it, and they gave them fire hats. It was a lot of fun. We're not going to do the fire drill this morning, but I want to let you know that should you be here and the fire alarm goes off, one, it's very loud, and it's loud on purpose because the intent is to try to make you want to leave the building and not stay. If it goes off and you have somebody in another place in the building, please don't go running through the building to where they are. Especially if you're a parent, please don't go running to the classroom to get your child. You will endanger the child, yourself, and others. We exit out this door currently. There's some construction out that door, which is why we're focused on this one. There's some also out there, but we would go outside and wait outside and assemble out there. If you have somebody who's not in the meeting room here, but out in the other part of the building, get outside, and then you can go and meet them because they have the RE program, for example, has a designated meeting place. It's important not to take especially the children right away. We want to make sure we count them and know that they're all accounted for. That because we do take attendance at the beginning of classes, we want to make sure that we have everybody out of the building. So I'll talk a little more about that later because it can be a matter of life and death to follow these guidelines. The second congregation I served, the second congregation was in a new congregation when we got started in Colorado. And there were two men on the board of this new congregation as it got started, and they lived close by to one another in a neighborhood together, and they would often drive to the board meetings together. Barry told this story later on to me, and both he and Jake agreed it was a good one to share. Barry called Jake up to, because usually Jake called Barry to say it was ready. Let's head out. And he hadn't gotten the call, so Barry called Jake, and when Jake picked up, and it rang a long time, and when he picked up, at first he didn't say anything. And Barry was kind of like, Jake, you doing okay? And then Barry heard something that sounded, what was this, a cat crying? What was going on? And they realized, no, wait a minute, something's wrong with Jake. And he said, hey, Jake, I'll be right over. And then Jake was like, no, you don't need to do that. And he said, Jake, I'll just be right over. I won't stay long. I'll see you in a moment. And hung up. Went over, got to Jake's. When he got to Jake's house, the door was open. Barry just went in. And Jake saw him. Jake was standing in the living room, and when Jake saw him, he just fell into Barry's arms and wept. Because not 20, 25 minutes before, Jake's wife had died. And Barry held him for a moment. And then the first responders had arrived, but they had come down the stairs, and there was other business to do. And Barry said, Jake, I'll just let the board know that you won't be there. Chick was like, good, thanks. And he said, I'll stop back afterward, which he did. One of the things about that experience was understanding the importance of community, what we can be for one another. We can be those arms that hold us when we've just experienced a great loss, maybe a great success, an important milestone, some kind of significant passage in life. But that event also got me to thinking, how do I want to be prepared for life? I'm not in charge of everything. I'm not in control of what's going to happen in the future. How do I need to be ready for life? And over the years of ministry, I've realized it's good to have a theology of fire drills. And I have some spiritual, 3 spiritual tools I use in my fire drill spirituality kit. And I'm going to talk with you about those this morning. One of those is community, and it's good that we're here this morning.
Now's the time for the chalice lighting. Alex is going to put up the reading that we've been doing. Please join with me while Reverend Joel lights the chalice. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
The choir's going to help us with this. I forgot to add the word hymn, so I invite you to sing together now. Life Calls Us On by Jason Shelton. I invite you to stand in body or spirit if you would like.
With the pledge to one another.
as I'm learning the traditions here at the fellowship, I did want to make sure that I took the opportunity to light a candle during the milestones and passages this morning for Sharon Glickman. She was a longtime member of this congregation and important in many respects, one of those being the women's group, an important part of not just this fellowship's history, but part of the change in American religion in which feminist spirituality became prominent and significant. We light this candle in celebration of her life. There's a memorial for her next Saturday. We'll celebrate her life. I light this candle in gratitude as well for her and her ministry to us. There are also some passages that have been experienced today. Beth Hayward just got back from visiting her daughter, Nicola, at House with Heart. And she writes, Beth writes, House with Heart is a home for abandoned girls in Nepal. Visiting a third world country for me was mind-boggling, heart-opening, and deeply humbling. It was an amazing trip, and I'm glad to be home. She mentioned to me as she gave me the note that the congregation has supported House with Heart in the past, the fellowship has. And it seemed appropriate on a day when I'm talking about fire drills and the trauma we hope to prevent with these, with practicing something like a fire drill, that some traumas come suddenly and perhaps they pass just as suddenly, but some traumas, certainly for those girls, endure for a long time. And it is communities like this in which we care for one another that we model how all the world might be caring for those girls in Nepal, caring for all of our neighbors who experience great losses, who are in need. Mary Louise McGinnis asks today for your thoughts, your prayers, your good wishes. Her father, Tom McGinnis, tested positive for COVID this week and is in Morristown Memorial Hospital. He's having trouble walking. He's in good spirits. And his only concern, she says, when she left him last night was, who's driving me to MUUF tomorrow? Keep him in your prayers. You mean so much to him. We lit candles today, and tomorrow is Diwali, one of the most important holidays widely shared among Hindus all over the planet. And how appropriate that today, as we talk about fire drills and bringing the right kind of light to the world and protecting us from the wrong kind of fire, that we light a candle that also represents the Diwali tradition, which is one to bring hope and goodness to the world and to transform that which causes harm. One of the things about community is that we turn to one another when we've experienced difficulties, as Mary Louise McGinnis did to us this morning, and as did her dad, who hopes to be back here, as Beth did. She brings her experiences. We are doing ministry together. It took me a while to understand how important this ministry is. It was as I got to know chaplains, ministers whose work is to be with people in moments when they've had significant life passages. Chaplains who work in hospitals, for example, or chaplains that work in prisons, chaplains that serve fire departments or police departments. As we do a ministry very much like chaplains do, we're not doing it full time, but it's a part of our lives. And I found this chaplain blessing some years ago because one of the things about showing up for one another is we never do it perfectly. And we always wonder, have we done enough? And when I found this chaplain's blessing, I thought, this is a wonderful way to remind ourselves that showing up is so very important. It's 90% of what we need to do, show up and love. This is a chaplain's blessing by Andrea Hawkins Kemper. This ministry isn't all prayers and beautiful moments, nor is it laments and trauma. It's not even both and, because this ministry is something greater than you, greater than us, greater than the whole of those we're serving. This work is a calling, and we are doing it. Day after day, night after night, call after call, visit after visit. We are doing the hard and holy work to which we are called. And this matters. This matters. This fact matters because when we feel we did not do enough, we did not care enough, or we did not do enough of something, we were still there in that moment with that patient, with that prisoner, with that family, giving, loving, ministering. You, me, us. Ministers, chaplains, members, friends, visitors, neighbors, all of us holy witnesses to the divine in all of its messy humanity. Us. We do this, we did it, we're doing it, we'll do it again. And every time we do, it will be enough. We cannot give more than we have to give. We give what we can when there is no one else to give. And that is enough. You are enough. We are always enough. May it be well with you in these days, and may it be well with the souls who come into our care, for however fleeting those moments may be. May we all be well. For this blessing and all the thoughts, meditations, and prayers we share in this moment. Amen. So be it. Blessed be. Let's sing together again. This is hymn number 1012. It's in the green songbooks if you'd like to hold the book. It's here on the screen. And I invite you to stand in spirit or in body, or to sit up in your chairs if you'd like, if you're watching online. It's an invitation, not a requirement. seated.
Today's reading is from Community Means Strength by Starhawk. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned, we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength to do the work that needs to be done, arms to hold us when we falter. Community means a circle of healing, a circle of friends, someplace where we can be free.
You know, in a time when you could just as easily get a smartphone out and contribute to the congregation on a regular basis with a regular Venmo donation or Zelle. My kids don't even have checks, paper checks anymore, you know. And I have automatic withdrawal when I'm giving to my congregation. So why have the offertory? It reminds us part of what we are here for is to give the energy of our lives in trust to one another and to serve the larger world around us together. It's a reminder that this energy from our lives goes into the community, and the community decides together that we are not just random individuals in this room. We're something greater, something that transcends all of us, but needs each of us. And as the fellowship always is thinking about how the community itself can serve, the tradition is to split this offering we take during the service, 50-50, part to the fellowship, part to a need in the community around us. And today, 50% of the fund goes to the Morristown religious communities to benefit Pastor Sidney Williams. He is the minister of the Morristown Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church. He and his family lost their home and all of their possessions in a fire. It destroyed their home this past week. And that has a profound effect on the congregation. And both he and the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church have been close partners for many years. We support our religious fellows, friends in this Morristown community today. You can donate with a basket that goes around. You can donate via a text to give number 73256 with the keyword MUUF followed by the dollar amount. And for those of us online, you can click on the link in the online order of service. And if you do, select Sunday offering from the menu. We take our offering. mention the congregation that that I helped get started in Littleton, Colorado in the 90s. I had been serving that congregation a little over 7 years when April 19th, 1999, there was a shooting at the Columbine High School. The building that the congregation had built, had renovated and turned into a religious home, the building that would house this religious community. It was only 2 blocks from the high school. I was in the office that day and I heard the shooting. Realized what was going on from a phone call from a member who also lived nearby. I ran home and my children's mom, my ex, was just finding out herself about what was going on. She went to get the children. They were okay, and she's going to bring them home and keep them safe. And I put on my collar. I own a collar. At that point, I had only ever wore it for demonstrations. I'd never worn a collar for going out and doing pastoral care as a Unitarian Universalist. And one day, I know I was serving a congregation in Buffalo, New York, and was going to a demonstration. You know, for a lot of Unitarian Universalists, especially like 20 years ago, put a collar on. I walked into the social hours. I was getting ready to go, and the room stopped cold, and they were staring at me with that. Oh my God, our minister, what's he doing? I went to the police line. They sent me right away to the site where teenagers coming out of the high school would meet up with their parents. And I was there for the rest of the day. And as you might imagine, there were some children that didn't come out of the school to see their parents. I saw a lot that day. One of the most vivid memories I have, though, about that time was several days later. I had my wife then and I took our children out to dinner. We needed to get out of the house. We just were trying to collect ourselves after the trauma, the experience of that. It affected the entire community. And we were sitting in a restaurant, kind of a chain restaurant, and there was a couple. We were kind of seated. I was seated facing the door, and in the booth next to us was a family, clearly very conservative family. The children were very well behaved, not wiggly, only speaking when spoken to. The dad had a crew cut. The mom had, is a conservative mom haircut a thing? I think it might be because she kind of looked the part. And as I was sitting there and we were waiting for the food to arrive, in came some high schoolers. And one of them, her head was shaved bald, and she had piercings in her skull and along her ears. And there was another kid who had hair that was formed into spikes that must have gone out 18 inches out of their head, different colors. And when they walked in the restaurant, the whole restaurant stopped cold. Everybody was looking at him like, and this conservative man he looked around the room, and he looked at these kids, and he got up, and he hugged each of them and said that he loved them. And that's a moment I've never forgotten. Those kids had walked in. I think they expected the room to go silent. Perhaps they were walking in almost as defiance with that spikes and the piercings. And they didn't believe in violence. They wanted nothing to do with any kind of harm to others. But when the man walked up and hugged them, the look on their faces, knowing that love was possible across great differences, it's a moment that's never left me. So it was after that experience of ministry, that day in April of 1999 in Littleton, Colorado, that changed a lot for me. And after the events of September 11th, 2001, which I know had a significant impact on this community, being in the metro area of New York, I got together with some Unitarian Universalist colleagues. We decided we were going to form a trauma response organization. In fact, we called it the Unitarian Universalist Trauma Response Ministry. There was myself. There were 3 ministers who had responded to the site of the wreckage of the World Trade Center after September 11th. Another one of these ministers was a police chaplain in Michigan, and another was a fire department chaplain in Massachusetts. And we learned a lot when we started the trauma response ministry. One of them was how shocked we were. You know, Unitarian Universalists historically have always been on the cutting edge of moving religion and spirituality into new and more effective ways of caring for the world and bringing more justice to the world. We're usually on the cutting edge. But when it came to trauma response, when it came to being first responders in the aftermath of disasters, we were maybe the last religious group on the planet to form a response organization. We didn't have one. And we were really taken aback by that. We were at a retreat when we started creating this trauma response ministry. And we realized after a couple of days that, oh, that's why we haven't done this. The police chaplain and the fire chaplain and a military chaplain who stopped in for a little while explained to us that when you're a first responder, when you're responding to someone who's in the midst of a trauma, if you're a fire department and you're showing up to a fire and you're going to put the fire out, you're not going to form a committee to figure out how it's going to happen. If you're a fire department and you're busy debating about which hose to pull out and how to approach the house fire, standing there debating, disagreeing while the house is on fire, someone's going to die. We realized that if we were going to do this thing, create this trauma response ministry, it would have to have hierarchical structure. We thought, dare we actually say that we would have a response captain, a command structure? And indeed, that's what we did. Fire departments respond to fires. They're not run by consensus. They're run by plans, drills, commands, structures, decisions that are made in the midst of sometimes chaos. Well, let me tell you, this was not easy for us because Unitarians and Universalists just spent the previous 400 years trying to figure out how not to have religious bosses telling everybody what to do, having hierarchies, right? It's like this is a congregation that eventually is going to call your next minister. I'm an interim minister. I'm here for 2 years, and then I can't stay because we're doing interim work. And the next minister, you will vote to call them. There's no boss that can tell you who your next minister is going to be. The people make that decision. And there is a lot of conversation that happens around it, and that is a good thing. So it took us a while to figure out, okay, what is the theology of a fire drill? So there are things that we follow. We have a fire drill. They're just things that we do. We don't have a debate. We just do the drill. We evaluate it and try to improve on how we do the drill, which is part of what we were doing today, as well as knowing which door is it that we go out, especially during a construction on the roof, those sorts of things. But there was, and actually it was Franklin Heller, he was our sort of command person today until the fire department showed up, and then they're in charge, and we do what they say. That doesn't mean that we stop being a congregation with a strong feminist influence, where we are really trying to build a community in which we're all involved and engaged in important decision making. I started, I always try to do a fire drill in every congregation I serve. Earlier on, not all congregations do fire drills. They're very important for the religious education program, especially early in the year. And it's always a great opportunity for me to have a conversation about how congregations make decisions, Unitarian Universalist congregations especially. I'm looking in this room. We have maybe 60 or so people in the room. If you were to make, let's say as a congregation, a big decision, or you made big decisions, say 60 years ago, like buying a building, that sort of thing, all 30 to 60 of you could have sat in a room like this, looked at each other, made a big decision together. It works to do that in a smaller group. You're a congregation of 300 right now. You could all sit in the same room and try to have that 3-hour meeting and make a big decision. I can tell you it won't work. You're too big. And the transition, one of the interim transitions you have is to, without it having to be a hierarchy, delegate more, delegate decisions more. Something your board is working on, how to delegate decision-making to committees or to staff. Your staff could, let me tell you something, your staff could make some decisions in 5 minutes that I see you taking days and days to decide together. The other thing that I see sometimes is that you second-guess the decisions, and my response always is to that, I didn't like the decision that was made. Well, you can join the committee. And of course, in a congregation, when you delegate decisions, if it's going to be a bigger decision, we consult first. We just don't go off and make it. There's some accountability in all of this, too. So one of the reasons we have fire drills is to see how it works, to make sure that it's working well, that the decisions that the staff have made about how the fire drill is going to go, indeed we're working out, are matching the plan that the safety committee drew up, those sorts of things. I had a congregation in northern New York do a fire drill. It's been about 6 or 7 years ago now. They had fire drills before, but they'd never pulled the alarm. And actually pulling the alarm is really important. It shifts your mind from, well, if you ring a little bell like this, okay, the fire alarm's going off. If you ever, it doesn't feel the same. Because when those alarms go off, they're loud. They're so loud, I wear hearing aids, I can't hear anything, and it's really annoying sound. And it's supposed to be annoying. The alarm is saying, get out of the building, don't hang out. So in Canton, we realized we needed to actually pull the fire alarm. The fire chief in this smaller New York town was very pleased we were having a fire drill. And came that morning. So at the end of the service, like we did this in the first service this morning when we had the actual drill, when the time came, he pushed the button on the panel to set the fire alarm off, and the panel exploded in flames. It had never been tested before, and when it had been installed some 15 years before, it had been wired incorrectly, and no one would have known it except that somebody pulled the fire alarm. He had a fire extinguisher with him. He just, kind of hosed the thing down a bit and pulled the wire. He knew where the power wire was and pulled the power wire out, and the fire was gone. It's good to have fire drills. The things you learn. So my theology of fire drills has 3 lessons in it, 3 tools in the fire drill spiritual toolkit that I recommend. So the thing about this experience with the fire drill where the panel catches on fire, we're not in control of the future. Stuff happens. We get prepared for it as best as we can. The third tool in this kit, I'll get back to 1 and 2. Now, let me tell you what, 1, as I was describing, sometimes we have to have authority. Sometimes we have to delegate decision-making. It's true in terms of trauma and events in life, but it's true in life in general. Second one, if we really are a community, we have to figure out how we show up. And the third one, why is a question with no answer. So I'm going to start with this third truth, why, which is a question that comes out of all of our mouths when something terrible happens. Why, Lord, oh, why? I know of soldiers who've been in foxholes who say, oh my God, I don't want to be here, and have been accused, see, you're not an atheist, and they're UUs who are atheists, and they're not believers in God, even though they utter the word God. It's just because we have this impulse that comes out of us like, what is this? Why does this have to happen? When bad things happen, there are 3 things that happen around this why. We suffer in 3 ways. We have physical losses, emotional losses, and spiritual losses. I've learned that it's good spiritual hygiene to have thought about and be prepared for that why as a part of your spiritual response kit. Memorize something. Have something that you can hold on to for yourself. I'm going to come back to that at the end of the service. The other thing is, let's say that you are visiting somebody who's in the midst of a traumatic moment, and they have a why in their hands. Please don't rip it out of their hands and say there's no why. They don't need that from you in the moment. Odds are they'll come back 3 or 4 months later, maybe a couple of years later, depending, and say, I'm not sure I agree with that why that I had. Why do you think this happens? And then you can have the why conversation, that there is no why. And we're only human. And when I've seen Buddhist clergy after the terrible tsunami in the Indian Ocean, there was an earthquake and the tsunami, and hundreds of thousands of people died in Sri Lanka and Thailand, Malaysia. And there were some Buddhist monks who went around saying, see, you're bad Buddhists, and this is a warning. Or there's those evangelical American TV shows where there was a hurricane and people died, and they say, see, you're not doing God's plan properly. You deserve this. That's all such BS. And I'm only human. If I say something stupid like that, like I know why, anybody saying why or starts blaming because of tragedy or trauma, don't listen to them. Please don't listen to them. It's just people being human. We want why, but these will turn out to be cheap and nasty explanations and are best ignored. The gift of humanism, a part of this congregation's tradition, the gift of Buddhism, actually, is the simple answer to the why is that there is no why. Buddhists would say it's an incorrect question. The second spiritual tool is the one described in the reading. We need one another. We need community. If something terrible happens, call us, call me. If something terrible happens in the community, count on, I'm going to be here that evening or the next evening, whenever possible, just so we can be together. Maybe all we'll do is sing and do some readings, but it really makes a difference to be together. We need to be comforted and comfort one another, even if we're all in the midst of trauma. And that last spiritual tool, authority, that doesn't have to be hierarchical, but putting your trust in something. And I have found that maybe it could be a prayer, it could be a saying, it could be perhaps something you hold on to. Have something ready to go. What are the words you want to hear falling from your own mouth when your world is busted apart? What strong, commanding inner authority do you draw on when the world around you is falling apart? And if you're not sure about what that would be, this is what I have memorized for myself. And you may know it if you don't. It's in the hymn book. It's hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. I found in some traumatic moments of my own life that it served me well. It goes like this. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. It's interesting, the songs that people will remember from whatever they remember in a religious experience growing up. I do like this song, number 360, Here We Have Gathered. And I invite you to sing this as well with me at this time. I invite you to stand in spirit or in body as you're comfortable. I put my faith in you. I put my faith in every one of you. Every one of you who woke up this morning maybe with burdens of lost, perhaps confusion, anger, fear, or alienation, pain. Even so, I put my faith in you. I pray that you can put your faith in me, because we need one another. We need one another now, and we will need each other in all the days to come, because together is the only way we're going to make it home. Go in peace, be in peace. See you again soon.